Kia ora, guys. Welcome back to the second part of our New Zealand story. This lesson is intended for 4th grade high school students, and my name is Davor, Černi. Let's get ready. Get your equipment ready, and of course, pause the video at any time, and you will find all the links in the video description. So what did we talk about last time? We talked about history, geography, and development of New Zealand. We located the New Zealand, the two main islands in the southern hemisphere. We established that it's far away from other continents. We talked about its history, the arrival of the Maori, and the arrival of the European settlers. So what are we going to look at today? The New Zealand of today. One of the things that is very important in New Zealand today is rugby. We can see that the first game of rugby was played in New Zealand on 14th of May 1870, and that the first New Zealand rugby team, official team, played its first game in 1884. The Rugby Football Union was founded in 1892, and the name All Blacks and its tradition started way back in 1905, so more than 100 years ago. The All Blacks and the rugby history today is closely connected to haka. Haka is a traditional warrior dance of the Maori. According to the Maori ethos, Aotearoa, the sun god, had two wives, Hine Raumati, the summer maid, and Hine Takurua, the winter maid. The child born to him and Hine Raumati was Taotearoa, who is credited with the origin of the dance. Taotearoa is the trembling of the air as seen on the hot days of summer and represented by the quivering of hands in the dance, the shaking of the hands. Haka is the generic name for all Maori dance, and today haka is defined as that part of the Maori dance repertoire where the men are to the fore with the women lending vocal support in the rear. Most haka seen today are haka taparahi, which is haka without weapons. The next thing that we're going to take a look today are the New Zealand movies. One movie in particular titled Once Were Warriors. The title of this movie carries a very complex message. Once Were Warriors is a film from 1994. It's a New Zealand drama film based on New Zealand author Alan Duff's best-selling 1990 first novel. The film tells the story of the Hekes, an urban Maori family, and their problems with poverty, alcoholism, and domestic violence, mostly brought on by the patriarch Jake. Of course, the story of the movie is very up to date and can be translated and transported into any culture, both indigenous, both imported. So from the native Indians of North America to the European suburbs, so we'll find these stories everywhere in the world. The movie itself had a sequel titled What's Broken Hearted, and also you have here the link to the 5 best Maori movies, and there is a link for teachers, a study guide that they can use in their classes to develop the story of Once Were Warriors further. So this is the cover of the movie and the photo of the main characters in the movie. We'll watch an official trailer for the movie. And while you're watching this, I would like you to think about these statements. The film is realistic, the film is moving, What happens to you in life, it's your own fault. The film is dated. The film promotes negative stereotypes. This film would have been greater if Grace had lived. The film has no hero. And the film is unsuitable for children. So please enjoy the trailer and think about these statements.
A 1,000 years ago, the Maoris discovered New Zealand.
Our people once were warriors. They were people with pride, people with spirit.
Today, they are strangers in that land.
You too. Do you think we'll ever get out of here too?
Dunno.
Frightened.
Like your pretty boy face.
Angry. Lost.
Been keeping bad company.
Was that before or after you picked him up?
Once were warriors. The story of one woman's fight for freedom.
You're a hard lady, Bessie. You're a hard man, Jakey.
Aren't they beautiful when they're like that?
Just drunk, that's all.
People show their true feelings when they're drunk.
I got a temper on me, but who hasn't?
One family's fight for survival.
Leave that kid alone. You know, that's your problem. You spoil a lot of them.
Don't care about any of us.
Tell Jakey you love him.
This is trouble, Jake. I do.
In the spirit of the past,
You think your fist is your weapon?
there is power.
I have taught you. Your mind will be.
Pride.
Don't want any more of these drunken parties or your mates coming around.
Possibility.
Told you about this thing, eh?
You're still a slave, Jake. To your fist. To the drink.
I'm a lovable chap.
To yourself.
Once were warriors.
Gonna hurt my babies anymore.
A woman's journey home.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the trailer. Your assignment would be to watch the whole film. You can even watch the sequel, you have the link here. And write an argumentative essay. The first topic that you can choose from is once were warriors suggest that Maori are responsible for their own circumstances. Discuss. Of course, this topic can be translated into any society or culture. So are people generally responsible for the circumstances that surround them in their life? The second topic, a negative event can act as a catalyst for change. Discuss. So, when something negative happens to you in your life, is this going to change you? New Zealand today. Who are the people that live in New Zealand today? And what is it like to live in New Zealand today? These are the two questions that we'll try to answer in the rest of our lesson. So here is a list of famous people that kind of symbolize the New Zealand of today. You have Flight of the Conchords, a comedy duo that has reached global fame. Then we have a singer, Lady Six. Of course, Peter Jackson, the director of Lord of the Rings, which made New Zealand even more famous. Then another single lordy, Steve Adams, a basketball player in the NBA. The late John Olomu, a rugby player, and the current Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. So these are some of the famous or more popular people that symbolize the New Zealand today. And what is it like to live in New Zealand? So we are going to watch a short video made by Peter and Jan, and they're going to discuss the good sides and the negative sides of living in New Zealand. So your assignment would be to write down all the good sides and all the negative sides of living in New Zealand. Please enjoy the video.
Yo, what is up everyone? We got a super special episode for you today. Today we're gonna go over the top 5 best things about New Zealand and 5 things to watch out for. Yeah, so let's go check things out. So the perspective of this video is going to be from me, and I've grown up in New Zealand watching the All Blacks play. I've lived in Wellington, right now we live in Auckland, and so obviously there's going to be a little bit of bias because, you know, I do love this country, but at the same time I'm going to be as truthful and as honest as possible so you guys will know all the things to watch out for if you want to live here too. Let's go. So obviously one of the best things about New Zealand is definitely the nature. Let's go take an aerial shot. We're only a couple of minutes out from the city now. Whether it's beaches, a little bit of tramping, or just the outdoors in general really excites you, if that's the best thing that you love, then you definitely need to put New Zealand on your bucket list because nature here is just beautiful. Whether it's the geysers in Rotorua or the best one-day tramps or some little bit of skiing, it's different from wherever you go. There's also a great sense of community here in New Zealand. Everyone does their part to keep this country nice, clean and green. And if you're a citizen of New Zealand, you get free healthcare, you get free education. It's just a good place to grow up. If you're not as fortunate as others in New Zealand, the government does try and take care of you, which I think is a great thing. And there are so many different cultures in New Zealand as well, and I think all of them generally get along really well. One of the other awesome things about having so many different cultures in New Zealand is that you get access to so many different varieties of food. Massive plus. Yo guys, we're currently here at Auckland Boys Grammar. This is where the legendary All Black Doug Howlett went as well, and it's also where I went to school. So why are schools in the pro bracket? Well, in New Zealand, you're not just encouraged to be an athlete or a sports star or an academic, you're kind of encouraged to chase your own dream. And that's one of the awesomest things that you can have, especially when you're growing up. So massive plus. And New Zealand schools are ranked the top 20 in the world. Just another reason to raise your family here. Yo! Another great thing about New Zealand, it's super safe. It's ranked among the 7th safest place in the world to live, and also there's not many critters that can hurt you. The worst you might get is a bee sting or a whitetail sting. So, live in a nice, comfortable, bubble-wrapped environment right over here. Massive thumbs up. And finally, the biggest plus of New Zealand is definitely the people. Whether it's the humor, want a ghost chip? Nah, I'm good, bro. Alright. Or whether it's just because you want to get your deck built out in the back, beer is an acceptable form of payment here in New Zealand. Everyone is generally nice to each other, and I love that about this place. So that wraps up all the great things about New Zealand, but before you buy your ticket over here, let's go check out some of the things that you might need to watch out for if you're coming to New Zealand as well. Guys, the biggest thing to watch out for if you're coming to New Zealand is that it can be a little bit expensive. I dedicated a whole episode to that. I'll leave the link down in the description below. But yeah, whether you're coming here as a tourist or if you're coming here to live, it will cost you a little bit of money for food, for accommodation, and for tourist activities as well. And now that leads on to the second thing. And the second thing is, we're pretty far from the rest of the world. We're only a small country. It takes 3 hours to get to Australia and about 8 to 10 hours to get to the rest of Asia Pacific. That's pretty far away. It's really far away! Which also means a lot of the flights that you're getting into New Zealand are going to be transitioning in a different country. There are some direct flights, but they're a lot harder to find and they're often more expensive. But once you get here, it certainly is beautiful. One of the biggest things to watch out for in New Zealand is definitely the weather. In autumn, spring and winter, you can have all 4 seasons in a day, and in summer, you need to learn to slip, slop, slap. put on your hat, put a little bit of sunscreen on, otherwise you're gonna get burnt, and you don't want none of that. It's gonna ruin your whole holiday. The sun's really potent here in summer. You can burn in a couple of minutes. Stay sun smart. Another thing to watch out for in New Zealand is definitely the public transport. Though in big city centres, it has gotten a lot better over the years. If you're going out from the city centres, it's generally a lot harder to get the transportation that you need to get to the places. So you're not going to have easy access to buses, you're not going to have easy access to trains. If you're going to go to a tourist spot, you're definitely going to want to do a little bit of planning beforehand to find out where your best routes are. Yo, so one of the things about living in New Zealand is that relatively compared to the rest of the world, the cities are pretty small. So if you're not into hanging out with friends, playing sports, or into nature, well, if you're searching for that big city vibe, this isn't going to be the place for you. But then again, that is a pro and a con. So, you know, a lot of people are actually looking to get away from it all. And if that's you, then this is your place. Personally, I couldn't think of a better country to live in than New Zealand. Every single time we're overseas, I always get homesick, but hopefully I gave you guys enough knowledge to make up your own minds. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you on plenty more episodes about New Zealand and food. Catch ya.
Well, let's see if you were able to write down the good and negative sides of living in New Zealand. The pros, the nature, which is beautiful, and we could have seen that in the previous lesson. Community, they're very helpful, everybody helps each other. He mentions the free healthcare and the free education. The multiculturalism as a very positive side of living in New Zealand. He stresses safety, and he points out to people. The negative sides of living in New Zealand, in the first place, it's the cost of living. It's very expensive. And this is probably connected to the second argument and the fact that it's far away from everything. The plane tickets are rather expensive. The weather is quite tricky, so that would be a negative side. And they have a problem with public transport, which is particularly tricky for the tourists. The last thing he mentions, I don't know if you were able to write it down, is the fact that cities are not big, they're small, and there is not quite a lot of nightlife and social activities, so he doesn't know where to put it, so it's up to you whether you would put it under the pro or con of living in New Zealand. Here are two more interesting links to the videos also done by Peter and Jan. The first one is about the cost of living in Auckland, so a big city, and 25 iconic Kiwi things. So you can watch these two videos and compare them to Croatia. So compare the cost of living in Auckland to cost of living in Zagreb, for example, or Split, and the 25 iconic things from New Zealand, what would be the equivalents in Croatia. Before we part, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, give us an applause. And if I could ask you to spend a few minutes and use the link or the QR code and give us a little lesson feedback. Tell us what you think overall of our lessons. Bye, and I wish you all the best in your Matura exam. We would like to thank the following: the Encyclopedia of New Zealand, Peter and Jan YouTube channel, New Zealand Film Commission, the Tourism of New Zealand, and New Zealand Tattoo Shop.